In leadership theory for time management, Stephen Covey distinguishes between something that is important versus something that is a priority. Something may be important, but it is not a priority. In other words, something that is important but not a priority does not need our attention right now. In today's gospel, similarly, a scholar of the law asks Jesus which commandment is the priority over all the important commandments. While all the commandments are important for this scribe, some commandments were simply a priority over others. Jesus summarized the priority as first, love of God, and then second, love of neighbor. He says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is Lord alone." Then our Lord said, "There is no other commandment greater than these, love of God and love of neighbor." Love of God summarizes commandments 1, 2, and 3, while love of neighbor summarizes commandments 4 through 10. It's by loving God first and foremost that we can then properly love our neighbor in an ordered way. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom and right ordering of priorities. It is written in today's first reading from the book of Deuteronomy. "Hear, O Israel, fear the Lord your God and keep all his statutes and commandments." If love of God is not in our hearts first, then the next priority about a correct love of neighbor will not make any sense. So having reflected on love of God as our first priority, let us now look at love of neighbor. Today, within the important social issues for love of neighbor, there is a hierarchy or similar ranking of social issues that are the priority. This ranking by Jesus that we see in today's gospel, that we hear, is important for us people of faith today because this Tuesday is election day. It is necessary for us to have a proper formation of conscience, informed by the great Catholic social doctrine of the Church. This is not partisan politics, but just good theology and the sound moral teaching of the Church that comes from the Son of God. We place principles over political parties. While the Church does not publicly endorse specific candidates for office, the Church still has the duty to speak on moral issues that affect the salvation of souls. Thus, while many moral social issues are important, many of them are not the priority. This is called the principle of the hierarchy of truths. Just as Jesus taught in today's gospel that there is a ranking or hierarchy or correct order of moral truths where God comes first and neighbor comes second, so too there are social issues today that are ranked more important than others, according to Pope St. John Paul II in his encyclical letter Gospel of Life, Evangelium Vitae. Quote, "First and fundamental among these is the inviolable right to life of every innocent human being," end quote. To correctly love our neighbor, the highest priority above other important social issues is the absolute protection of innocent human life. The key words here are absolute and innocent. Absolute and innocent. Absolute means 100% or no exceptions, no gray area. It is all or nothing. Our own Declaration of Independence states that we hold these truths to be self-evident and that the Creator endows inalienable rights, among which life is listed as first, followed by liberty and happiness second and third. It is not just simply human life that should be protected, but innocent human life that should be protected. And it is not only innocent human life that should be protected, period, but the Church teaches that innocent human life must be protected absolutely. Absolutely means always and everywhere in every circumstance. It is a moral absolute, not relative. Under no circumstance may it be violated. Otherwise, it is in and of itself an intrinsic act, always and everywhere, regardless of time, space, or culture. Thus, all social issues are secondary to the number one priority of protecting innocent unborn life in the womb. There are other important social issues, but these do not involve intrinsic evil and are not absolute. Rather, they require what's called prudential judgment. The prudential judgment depends on the circumstance. That's where you say, well, it depends. It's gray area. That's why they are secondary. Prudential judgment social issues are definitely lower in rank and priority than the first priority of protecting the rights of innocent human life in the womb. Prudential judgment is about the best decision where reasonable people can reasonably disagree, where it is legitimate for even Catholics to disagree amongst themselves. However, while there are important social issues where Catholics may legitimately disagree with each other about the best way to serve the common good, there are priorities where all Catholics cannot support the harming of innocent human life in the womb absolutely. Jesus said that when we receive these little ones in his name, we receive him and the one who sent him. But if we reject these little ones, we reject Jesus and the one who sent him. St. Mother Teresa, the great servant of the poorest of the poor, used her hands to remember Christ's 5 words: "You did it to me." She also said that world peace begins in the womb when she received the Nobel Peace Prize. If we want to stop the disrespect for human life with all the shootings in our schools and synagogues and places of worship and the malls, then we must, America, respect human life from womb to tomb. For a good resource on what you can do for the least vulnerable brothers and sisters, go to priestsforlife.org. In closing, normally Jesus is very, very harsh with the scribes and Pharisees, but to this scribe that had the right ordering of priorities, Jesus praises as not being far from the kingdom. May we too be like this scribe and love God first and then love our neighbor second. And when we do love our neighbor, let us prioritize our neighbor's right to life from womb to tomb, especially the little innocent ones. May the words of the responsorial psalm be ours too. I love you, Lord, my strength. O Mary, Mother of the baby Jesus, obtain for us the grace to receive the gospel of life anew by loving God and loving our neighbor. Amen.